So to start these milk buns, you want to make a tangzong. So that's the starter, which you're going to end up chilling in the fridge for an hour. It's really easy to make. It comes together really easily. And that's going to help give the milk buns this really incredible, soft, luscious flavor. So once your starter's cool, you're going to start making the dough. The dough is really easy to make, but I think the crucial point about this is that it gets really sticky and that you need to knead it for like 20 minutes. I know it sounds like a long time and it's going to seem like it's not coming together, but if you keep kneading it, it'll gradually form a ball that you can work with. So when you're making bread, you always want to use a starter. In this case, we're making a tangzong, which is a really easy starter to make. It just has bread flour, whole milk, and water. Other starters might have yeast, but we're going to add that later in the process. Kneading the dough for a long time is going to help produce the gluten, which is going to make a really airy, fluffy bread. I played around with a few recipes when I was developing this, and when I first made it, I was like, do you really need to knead it for this long? And you really do. In order to get that fluffiness, you really need to take your time with the dough. After you've kneaded the dough, you're going to let it rise for an hour, hour and a half. That's a really basic step in bread baking. After the dough is risen, it's time to divide it into individual portions. So once you divide the dough up, you can flatten a piece out so that it's like yay big, and then add your filling of choice. I added pulled pork just because I love it, but you could add any filling you want. At that point, you're going to pinch each side up to slowly seal it. Then flip it over so that the seal is on the bottom and that the smooth side is on the top. So for Thanksgiving, I actually had milk buns rather than dinner rolls, and everyone lost their minds. They're like the best thing ever. Put the formed buns back in the baking pan. Of course, you want really beautiful, glossy buns, so brush them with an egg wash, and then you're gonna bake it. You could also add toppings like seeds. You could use like an everything bagel spice. You can really get creative here. I like to add sesame seeds. I think it just adds a little bit of extra flavor. It's really aesthetically pleasing. You could even add flaky sea salt, really whatever you want. You only need to bake it for 25-30 minutes until they're nice and golden brown. At this point, you're done. Just let them cool, pop them out, and go crazy. I love getting milk buns when I go out to eat, and this was actually the first time I'd have ever made the recipe. It was really, really fun to make. I think the joy of this is that you can stuff it like I did with pulled pork, or you can put in other ingredients, other types of meat, vegetables, or you can just have buns by themselves. I think milk buns are so good because they're so fluffy. It's truly like the fluffiest bread you can get. So you can make this recipe for a dinner party if you just wanted plain buns on the side. You could make it for a picnic. You could bring it to the beach. I mean, these are great for a barbecue. There's so many options. Today, I'm going to show you how to make my sheet pan barbecue chicken cornbread sandwiches. It's a mouthful, but it's really good. Cornbread and barbecue are such a classic combination, and I thought it might be cool to just put them together and also take out some of the stress of people having to do it by themselves. With the sandwich, you get it all in one. While I was developing this recipe, it was really important to have cornbread that could stay in a sheet and not crumble apart. Some cornbread can be really dense and crumbly, which has its moments, but for this, we needed something a little more malleable. I think for me, this is a perfect thing for a summer barbecue, a party, a long weekend. It's really a crowd pleaser, and it's pretty easy to do. You want to make sure to grease the baking sheets and line them with parchment paper. If you don't line them with parchment paper, you're not going to be able to peel them off in one sheet, and that kind of defeats the whole purpose. You want to make sure to divide them evenly between the two sheet pans. You don't want one thicker and one thinner. Again, it's a sandwich, you want them even on both sides. The cornbread bakes really quickly. It'll be done in something like 15 minutes. So while the cornbread's baking, you can move on to the next step, which is making your own barbecue sauce. I think when you're making your own barbecue sauce, the joy is that you can control some elements. Like if you want it more spicy, you can add more heat. If you want it sweeter, you can add more sugar. I just really like the element of control that you have when you're making your own barbecue sauce at home. A lot of people use store-bought, but it's actually really easy to make your own sauce. It'll come together in a matter of minutes. So in addition to making our own barbecue sauce, we're also going to make our own coleslaw. The base for the coleslaw is really easy. It's basically mayonnaise, mustard, vinegar, and some seasoning. So for this coleslaw, I'm using cabbage and carrots. If you wanted to add something else, you totally could. you're gonna add the shredded chicken to the barbecue sauce, give it a stir. It's that easy. When you're ready to assemble, you'll place the shredded chicken all over the cornbread, top it with coleslaw, put the other cornbread on top of it, and then you can slice it into pieces as big or small as you want. You can make them really small and make them like sliders for a party, or you can make them bigger if you're having like a family barbecue. People love this idea that's kind of novel of having like a sheet pan sandwich. I think the joy of this sandwich is having this really saucy chicken, this really flavorful coleslaw, and then of course the cornbread, and it's all together and you can just have it in one bite. Truly the best combination. I put chicken inside this sandwich, but you could use pulled pork, brisket, whatever your favorite barbecue is. Let us know in the comments. Today I'm going to show you how to make my chicken teriyaki crispy rice noodle bowl. I love chicken teriyaki, but it can often feel so heavy to me, and I wanted to make it in a way that felt lighter and a little more exciting. So I think using the fried noodles and incorporating some of these other really fresh toppings makes it feel fresh and exciting while still having that really incredible flavor from the teriyaki sauce. So to start this recipe, you're going to make the teriyaki sauce. It's really simple. You're whisking a few ingredients together and set it aside. So I used really thin vermicelli noodles for this. So you want to make sure that you're taking small portions of the noodles off. If you put the whole thing in, it's not going to fry correctly. Break it apart, take a handful of the dried noodles before you start to fry. You also want to fry the noodles in batches so that they all get evenly cooked. If you overcrowd the pan, they're going to get burnt. So whenever you're frying, you really want to make sure it's the right temperature so you get the right consistency and that it cooks through. We tried frying these noodles at different temperatures, and too low and nothing happens. They just become like oily noodles. If it's too high, the noodles will get brown really fast. So you really want to use a thermometer. So the rice noodles are going to cook really, really fast. As soon as they've expanded, you can use a slotted spoon to remove them onto a sheet tray. Once you fry the vermicelli noodles, they just get this incredible crunch, which I personally love. So once your noodles are fried, you can move on to the chicken. Gonna salt and pepper the chicken. Add it to a wok. And at this point, then you're gonna add that reserved teriyaki sauce. This takes a few minutes and the chicken's gonna get really like shellacked with this incredible sauce. It's gonna be deep and flavorful, and it's truly such a good sauce. You could just kind of drink it if you wanted. I think the joy of this dish is that it has a ton of flavor, but that it's really easy to do. Frying, sure, will take a few minutes, but honestly, you could do this for under an hour. This could be a weeknight meal that's more interesting than takeout, and it's more interesting than your usual chicken teriyaki. Once you're done with the chicken, you can serve it over the noodles. I added some stuff like snap peas, radishes, scallions, but you can top it with whatever you like. You can also just make the chicken on your own. You could make the rice noodles on their own and put other toppings, something like shrimp or vegetarian stir fry. It's a really versatile recipe. These noodles are worth making on their own. The chicken teriyaki is worth making on its own. But if you make it and use other ingredients, other toppings, let us know in the comments. We want to see what you're making at home.